Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is your latest Arsenal news. Now, still obviously buzzing after yesterday's massive win against West Ham, a 6-0 win, our biggest away victory in Premier League history, and that came against the perfect opponent, West Ham, a team that has really bothered us the last 1 year, and we got the result against them absolutely buzzing. After beating Liverpool, the next result had to be a win, and it was not the easiest of games away at West Ham, but we made it look easy, and we got the 6-0 win. So we'll be talking about that game and also talking about some injury boosts. Now we'll talk about that game as well, and then we'll transition to the injury news because there's something I want to say about that game, and then transition to the news. But yesterday, Arsenal beat West Ham 6-0. But as always, I tweeted about it and I wrote about it. When Arsenal beat Crystal Palace 5-0, the talk was, Roy Hodgson is not really doing well at Crystal Palace. Arsenal got a very weak team. They won 5-0. Okay, fair enough. Nottingham won, Arsenal 2. Nottingham Forest, could have done better. They usually beat Arsenal, but I don't think Arsenal played well. But, Nottingham Forest were not that great. Okay, the next game, Arsenal 3, Liverpool 1. Van Dijk and Alisson gifted Arsenal the win. Arsenal didn't really deserve to win like that. It wasn't really convincing. They're still third and all that. Okay, fine. And then yesterday, Arsenal 6, West Ham 0. Oh my goodness, it's all on David Moyes. Like, you can't really give too much credit to Arsenal. West Ham are not that great, and all that. There's no time that they'll ever say that Arsenal played well, and that is exactly what you've been doing the last few games. And this season, most of it, especially recently though, the way we've been dominating games, mainly because of this guy and the likes of Saliba and Gabriel and those guys, we literally play games. Yesterday against West Ham, we played the game and West Ham had like 0 touches inside our box, like the first 40 minutes or something crazy like that. They had 1 shot on target the whole game. And even that shot on target, it was from Kudus from a crazy angle on the right side. The previous game against Liverpool, a team that has scored a bunch of goals and are top of the table, obviously, they came to a place and we kept them down to 1 shot on target. Even that one, like from the left side, I think from Diaz or Jones or someone like that, we kept them down to 1 shot on target and you scored the goal for them. The way we are able to control games these days and dominate possession, and basically sometimes teams have possession but they don't really get the end product. But the last couple of games, especially if you look at yesterday, you get the results, you get the possession. We had 70 something percent possession. We had more than 20 shots. We had a bunch of shots on targets as well. We were controlling the game throughout. Saliba was looking good. Gabriel was looking good. Most of the players are looking good. It is absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. And that's not the only thing that went great yesterday. Now, set pieces. That's one thing that we kind of had dropped back like in November and December, dropped down, like we're not looking good in set pieces like we are used to. But since we came back from Dubai, the set pieces have been absolutely incredible. Again, we had to work on it. And one of the changes that we made is Declan Rice is now on our corners. We saw him against Crystal Palace. He got an assist in that game. Against West Ham yesterday, he got 2 assists as well. His technique is very good. His corners, absolutely fantastic from that right side. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And to get a corner goal against West Ham, to get a free kick goal against them as well. Whenever we get penalties, we score from them as well. And we also scored from outside the box. We had a team goal. I rewatched the 4th goal. I didn't know how many passes we made. Like, it was from Rare, then it went through the midfield, then to the left side to Kivio, it came back to Rice, and then Odegaard is a fantastic pass to Saka. Saka with a fantastic finish. Absolutely insane football. The one thing I said at the beginning of the season when people are saying we aren't really playing good football and we aren't scoring as many goals as we were scoring last season, I said, listen, if it means we are saving our energy to the last 4 months of the season, because last season we started with a lot of fire, a lot of speed, a lot of all that, and then by the time we got to March, we were already tired. Every single player had played 90 minutes, players were tired, and Man City were able to have the likes of, De Bruyne, Foden, who've been on the bench for a few games, Gundogan coming on fresh and ready to go for the last 3 months. For us, it was not the same. Like, many players played every single game. Players got injured. Players got tired. Players are not used to the title race. And by the time it got to March, our energy was gone. This time, we've actually saved our energy. Saka's not been great this season. We'll talk about his stats, but if you look at his numbers, incredible. but he still has another gear to go to. We know Martinelli has another gear to go to. Jesus, all those guys still have another gear to go to. So I literally cannot wait for to see how we do between now and the end of this season, because right now we've picked it up. So let's take a look at a couple of stats from yesterday. These were the set pieces from yesterday, or our set piece record after yesterday. We've now scored the most goals from set pieces, 16, followed by Everton with 13, Luton with 11, Man City with 11, and Newcastle with 11. And then let's take a look at this as well. In terms of overall, this season we've scored 11 goals from corner kicks, the most in the Premier League, obviously. And then at the bottom, as you can see, we've gotten 7 penalties this season, and we've scored all 7 of them. And the best thing about this, all this is like different players. If you start with the corners, Saka's taken a couple that Rice has scored. Schuster has taken a couple that Gabriel or Saliba have scored. Rice has taken a few as well, which have ended up being scored by Gabriel and Saliba, both of them as well. Like different people crossing the ball, different people scoring. The penalties as well. Saka scored like 3. Fabio Vieira scored a penalty. Jorginho scored a penalty this season. Havertz has scored a penalty this season. Odegaard has scored a couple. Like, it's an all-round effort. It's not just like depending on one player at all. Like, several players can take penalties, which is absolutely incredible, because you never know. Sometimes you might end up in a penalty shootout, and you don't want to just depend on Saka and Odegaard. At least the players coming up, Jorginho. If I have a penalty shootout in the Champions League quarterfinal, and my team, my penalty takers, I can see Odegaard is there, Saka is there, Jorginho is there, Havertz is there, VIEIRA is there. All those guys scored their penalties, so I'd be very, very confident of winning that particular game. So long may it continue. I think that is one thing that we've really, really worked on since the Dubai trip, which really, really helped us. So absolutely amazing. One player that was absolutely terrific yesterday was Odegaard. I rewatched the game. I gave him an 8 out of 10 in the player ratings, but yesterday I watched the game again, and he was absolutely incredible, man. Like, everything was going through him. So I would upgrade that to a 9 out of 10. This is stats this season. Odegaard 107 yesterday, 107 passes, 7 chances created, and 2 assists. That is just incredible. Like, the number of chances that is created this season, Odegaard, is because you've been missing a lot of chances. This guy could have had like 20 assists this season. Like, the way he controls the game, he just makes everything look absolutely easy. So fair play to Odegaard. And it doesn't even take our corners and stuff like that. Like, if he was taking our corners and the free kicks, he could have had more assists and all that. Saka is another one that absolutely shined yesterday. And if you take a look at his stats this season, 25 plus take-ons completed, 25 plus open play chances created, 25 plus possession, a possession won in the final third, 25 plus tackles made, 5 goals plus 5 assists, and he has the most touches inside the opposition box this season. He's the best in terms of, he's the only player to have done all this season. Absolutely incredible. And his numbers are more than 10 goals, more than 10 assists. Is absolutely remarkable. And remember, this is a Saka who's apparently having a bad season, according to the media. Remember, Foden is having his best season, Saka is having his worst, and all that. Saka's been absolutely terrific. And again, long may it continue. That break, there's 3 specific players that I felt like really needed that break to Dubai. Saka is definitely one of them. He was looking tired in December. He was missing chances against Liverpool, and even Liverpool in the Premier League and Liverpool in the FA Cup as well. I think Odegaard really needed that break as well. But Odegaard wouldn't even be in my top 3. My top 3 is Saka, Martinelli, and Ben White. Those are the 3 players I felt like really needed that break. And then after that, maybe Odegaard, because Martinelli and Saka were starting to miss so many chances. Decision making was a bit all over the place. And Ben White was, he's not the same Ben White from last season, but since that break, he's looked very, very good. So I'm really, really happy to have all of those players back to their best. It's very, very exciting. It's very, very exciting. And that result yesterday, it meant that we've now beaten all 3 teams that won our European trophy last season. Man City won the Champions League. We've beaten them twice this season. Sevilla won the Europa League. We've beaten them twice this season in the Champions League. And West Ham won the Conference League. We've now beaten them 6-0. So absolutely perfect. Now, if you look at our squad yesterday, we scored 6 goals, and then we took off Rice, we took off Saka, we took off Trossard, and then after like 10 minutes, we took off Ben White, and we also took off, will I remember who else we took off? There's someone else took off the 5th player. But basically, the players who are coming off the bench, Cedric, El Neni, Nwaneri, Nketiah and Nelson, they're not like regular, they don't make regular appearances in our team. Now, it's great. I'm happy that those players got a chance to play. But let's imagine they weren't on the bench. Let's imagine every one of our players was fit. So let's go to that particular news. So according to the reports, for the first time this season, Arsenal expecting to have a fully fit squad by the end of the month. Just imagine that. We are February 12th today at the time of recording. We have 3 more games this month. Burnley away from home this weekend. We should be expecting to win that comfortably. And then after that, we are starting our Champions League knockout stage away at FC Porto and then Newcastle at home. Those are the only 3 games we have this month. And then after that, in March, we have like Sheffield United and all those other guys, Brentford at home. But if you focus on February, those are 3 games you can definitely survive without those players being in our squad, because the rest of our team looks good. Obviously, we'll need maybe at least one back, like a Zinchenko or Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is not even injured, but he should be back for the next game. Now, imagine yesterday we scored 6 goals, but we brought players who don't regularly play, and we didn't really add another goal. Now, let's imagine that was scored yesterday. Now, imagine everyone was fit. Look at the bench. Ramsdale, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Timber, Partey, Jorginho, Smith-Rowe, Vieira, Jesus, Nketiah, Nelson. Now, those are 11 players. You only allowed 9. So let's take away the 2 that played, Nketiah and Nelson. Imagine a bench where, or let's even take out a couple of defenders, obviously, or something like that. Imagine if we had scored 6 goals yesterday, and then we had the option of bringing on Smith-Rowe for Havertz. And then we have... let's say we bring on Fabio Vieira for Odegaard, and then you bring on Jesus for Trossard, and then you bring on Nelson for Saka. Partey comes on, Tomiyasu comes on, Zinchenko comes on. If we had those options on the bench, we seriously could have scored like 10 goals yesterday. If we had the options of bringing on Partey and Smith-Rowe and Tomiyasu and Jesus on the bench yesterday, we would have scored 10 goals in that game, because all of those players with their quality, I know Cedric and Elneny, they're all hungry to like prove themselves and all, and to at least give to the team. But these players who are like, they're still trying to prove themselves, their career is still very young, in the likes of Smith-Rowe and Vieira and all those guys, they would have taken, in terms of quality, obviously they're better. They would have absolutely ripped West Ham apart even more than what we did yesterday. That could have been like 10 goals. That would have been absolutely incredible. So it's a dream, and to have those players back, it would be absolutely huge. Even now, Tomiyasu will be back for this game this weekend. Jesus is not that serious. He could be back very, very soon. Zinchenko as well. But there's a couple of players, obviously, that we haven't seen for a long while. Fabio Vieira, we haven't seen him since last year. He picked up a red card and then he got injured. He hasn't really proved himself in an Arsenal shirt. He was looking good as well just before he got injured. We were hoping like he'd go on a run and, start to convince people. But imagine if you have that option there as well. Another player who's very, very gifted technically, it's not worked out so far. And then imagine Partey in this squad. I know I said last time I'm not going to be talking about Partey until he's fully fit. But listen, imagine if they're saying he's going to be back by the end of the month. Let's see. Timber as well. If you get Timber in that team, it was a bad thing for Timber to get injured right like at the start of the season, because there's some games like we've been able to win the big games without those guys. Yes, teams like Man City and Liverpool, but teams like Aston Villa and Newcastle away, if we had Timber in that game, if we had players like Partey starting in those games, maybe those games would not have been L's. So I cannot wait for them to return. Imagine a scenario where Arsenal can actually call up the entire squad, where you don't even know who you're going to put on the bench because everyone is basically fit. Imagine if we have all of those players fit. I'd be very, very confident between now and the end of the season. Like that team, I would fancy us against FC Porto. That team, I'd fancy us against PSV, Dortmund, even Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid. The only team maybe that, might get the better of us is Man City and Real Madrid. All the other teams, I feel like we can definitely go toe-to-toe with them and beat them up, all of them. So very exciting times. Let me know which player are you looking forward to the most returning? Timber, Partey, Tomiyasu from the Asian Cup. Whoever comes back fast, I'll still be very, very happy, because yesterday you could tell we were a bit short on the bench. If that game went a little bit wrong, we wouldn't have had enough quality to bring off the bench, because everyone else was in the starting lineup and everyone else was injured. But apart from that, that's the latest news. Really, really happy how everything is going for us right now. Let them speak however they want to speak. Let them not say anything good about Arsenal, but we're in a really, really good place. Burnley next. Can we get even more goals? That would be great. After that, you have Newcastle at home, another team that we need to prove something to. After that, again, you have Champions League is starting next week as well. Things are looking good. I'm very confident for all those games, and let's hope our players are fully back, fully fit. And Jesus as well. I didn't talk about Jesus. Jesus has been our best player in the Champions League this season. I need him back for that Champions League game. This particular weekend, I'd not really be rushing Jesus to come back, or those players like who could be back this weekend. Let's say Zinchenko. I wouldn't be rushing those players back this weekend. I'd save them for the Champions League game, and then after that, Newcastle. The team that's played against West Ham, I think that team can definitely do the. Do not think. I know that team can definitely do the job against FC Porto and Burnley and FC Porto. Let's say Burnley, not FC Porto. Burnley, they can still do the job against FC Porto, but you will need a bench. So even if you start Jorginho and give Rice a rest against Burnley, things will still go good. So let me know what you make about all that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.